If you guys want to just give me a thumbs up when you're ready to go.
I just heard thumbs
All
up.
right, there you go.
I didn't hear ready to go.
So bad.
She's ready to go, but it is not time.
Well, it's pretty close to time.
There's one right here.
And you, I think
I can put it across.
I just, mine's the middle port, and I can actually. And I'll go on battery life, and then if we need to switch out, we will.
Hi, guys, I'm here.
Okay. Thanks, I'll add that really quick. And that's 6 to 7, right?
7, let's say like 7:30. I think you can try it. Which one?
All the commissioners are coming out to the library. You know, I was like,
Yeah,
did you send
today,
it
right?
us?
Like, or next week. Which one is it next week?
Yeah.
Why did they schedule that? I mean, they should look at their calendars down here.
Okay, are we unmuted and recorded?
Yep, you are all ready to go.
Okay.
I think. Hey Deb, can you hear me okay?
Yep, can you hear me okay?
Uh-oh, let's test that really quick.
Deb,
Yeah, I'm
Deb,
here.
can you hear us?
I can hear you. You can't hear me.
No, but we can't hear her. Hey,
I see you waving, Deb. Can you hear us? You're talking, but you can't.
That
You
was my
can't
bad.
hear
I
me.
muted the wrong
I can hear
speaker.
you now.
Got you now.
I can hear you now.
Oh,
Just a
I
okay.
minute.
muted, I muted you guys instead of my laptop.
Oh,
I mean, I think that might have happened at a different schools board meeting one time. Okay, are we good to, we're good to rock and roll, Nathan?
You are all set.
All right, we will go ahead and bring this meeting, call this meeting to order at 19:02 with a flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First up, are there any adjustments or amendments to the agenda? All right, hearing none, we can approve that and move straight into the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
I motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
All right, is there a second? All right, there's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? All right, Laura, can I have you do a roll call?
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Soren,
Yes.
Jamie, yes. Deb, you're online.
Yes, I can barely hear you too.
All of us, Deb?
No, just
Me.
Laura.
Is it better now that she turned her mic on?
How's it?
Maybe
Is
No.
this better?
a little, but not very much.
I always feel like I'm loud too, and then
About that.
It's a little better. You're about even with the rest of them now. None of you are loud,
As
just
long as
enough.
we're even, I don't care. I'll talk loud.
okay.
There.
Interrupt us, Deb, if we're not talking loud enough, would you please?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
I'll get the volume adjusted up here in just a second.
Thank you, Nate.
All right, Do we have any patron comments tonight, Laura?
Yes, Karen wanted to speak. Karen Elton.
Okay, and then do we have anybody for online that you know?
I did not get any other messages.
All right, so before we start patron comments, give me just 1 second. We'll kind of walk through process and procedure. So the ALSI Board of Directors values the opinions and input of students, staff, parents, and community members. Although board meetings are held in public, they are not meetings of the public. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. If you intend to speak to the board this evening, you will need to fill out one of the blue comment cards and hand it to the board secretary. I think you may have already done that. Comments may also be made via Zoom. If you intend to speak via Zoom, please put your name in the comments so that the board chair can call on you. Before you begin your comments, please state your name, and if you're speaking for an organization, please state that organization. For more information about public comments at a board meeting, please see ALSI School District Policy BDDH. Elton, wouldn't mind taking a.
Expectations that it would be later, but.
Oh, sorry. Very beginning.
Titty tattle down here. Okay. Hello. Okay. My name is Karen Elton, and it seems really weird to come now. The first time I came was at the end of last year, and it felt like I was talking to little strangers. But now it's like more of this hometown, get to know you kind of feel. And we have loved being here. And I talked my first time here about my gratitude for my children's experience coming to school here and how amazing that experience was. But as many of you already know, that I've chosen to take one of my children out and transfer to a different school. And I don't have to explain the trek over the mountain. We all know how hard it is and how financially that is. But finances is not as important as the emotional and physical well-being of your children. It takes a lot of trust to put your children in school. Trust that they'll be safe emotionally, trust that they'll be safe physically. And I have felt like that some of that trust has been violated here. Physically, with having transportation that wasn't the safest for my children without proper car seats and vehicles. Emotionally, I'm not going to get into details here. We all know how hard it is to see your child struggle. It was been very difficult just for me to see the emotional and physical impact on my child every single day with the struggle of coming to school. I've waited a little bit of time since transferring to see, maybe it was just me thinking it was a school, but I hope that you guys take joy in the fact that this child is excelling now. Even though it's not here, that they are happy, excited, tell me good things, what they do at school, who they meet, exciting things about their teacher. None of that before. Every day we talked about not wanting to go back. Every night begging to stay home the next day. I felt like I didn't know how to navigate the school system to express my needs. And those that I talked to shut me down. Assured me over and over again, use that word, that everything was fine. Every concern, every time I talked to certain staff members. It's a small town. My issues are not alone. My struggle is not alone. My voice here tonight is to understand how we can, as a school, prevent people, to help everybody feel safe at school, emotionally and physically, either peer to peer, student to other students, staff to students, staff to staff. How can we all be emotionally safe here? Even though I've transferred one of my children, and I may transfer all of them if I do not feel that trust back with this school, that they are going to be safe physically and safe emotionally. But my dream would to come back home, have them all go to ALSI. I loved that. I love that so much. That's my dream. And not everybody can express themselves. I can't express myself as well as other people, but there are people here who want to take their students out, but they cannot afford to. Last year, if this happened, we were struggling so bad we were barely making it. We would not have been able to have moved. So I'm grateful that it didn't happen until this year, where I have that choice, where I have that time. It will be a struggle. I won't be able to work as much. But that delight on my child's face coming home from school, to have that joy and that spirit back makes it all worth it. And I want every student in both schools and Alcy to feel that. And I know you guys all want to too. I want to know, how do parents help navigate a situation without feeling lost? How do we prevent bullying from happening in any direction, so that we can all come home and go to school here together?
Thank you. Okay, I don't see anything online, so we will move into reports. First up is the superintendent report.
Let me get to it. So we have been, the early literacy grant, we were allocated for this year 91,000. I'm going to present that. That's the final piece that the state needs before we will get that money released to us. Mrs. Shunk, I thank her so much for her hard work. When they released this grant in October, they told us we had from December 1st to January 8th to get it in. And it was a 1-page front and back. And when we opened the grant up for preliminary in November, it was 35 pages. So Mrs. Shunk put in a lot of time over Christmas break to get it going. We've submitted our proposal for the extension of our awesome grant. And we got word today, more than likely, we will hear in the next few days if we will get that extension. And we're asking for the extension through September. I've been working on the school calendar for next year, because why put it off? We need to let people know. One of the concerns that I have heard from staff is that our calendar and some of the vacations was like significantly different than schools around us, and that caused some of a hardship since most of our staff comes in from outside. So I use the Oregon University system calendar to match up key dates. We use CBA working days, federal and state holidays, mandatory instructional hours. We have to start early because we have to set up our SIS system for next year. There are some things in the SIS system we need to make sure match us better, so we're not struggling for grades and things like that. So what if you also read the CBA said that the teachers certified union should have had a say in the building of it, and I've been told previously that really hasn't happened. So I wanted to start early to get really good feedback. So I proposed 2 calendars to staff and asked for feedback, and got some great feedback that I didn't even think about. So I'm going to go back to them, and based on their feedback, I kind of reworked a couple of things. I'm going to go back to them next week and ask them to choose which one they like. And then I'm going to bring that calendar to the February meeting with the staff's recommendations and give it forth to you all and see how you like it. And then I think we'll actually be the first in the region to have a school calendar for next year, so they can follow us. We did our asbestos inspection in December. It's up on our website. We also had to do some radon testing. It was completed, and we should get the results in the next couple of weeks. We have to do it I believe every 3 years. Keenan and I have been really talking about, we need to start doing some facilities plans for upgrades, especially to our doors and windows. So in the next couple of months, Keenan and I are going to actually sit down and start making a plan, because we're going to get this beautiful HVAC system that's going to put out this great air, and with our single pane windows, that air is going to go out the window. So him and I are really going to work and start making that plan, and hope, as we look at grants like the TAP grants, then really kind of bring in, our goal would be in 3 to 5 years to actually have every door and window replaced in all the building. So that's going to take some budgeting as well. We did the Clemens holiday tournament with Eddyville Charter. It was amazing. I was exhausted. It took me about 5 days to get over it, but it was great. We had 16 different teams from throughout the state of Oregon here. The first 2 days, we had 8 teams at Alcy, 8 teams at Eddyville, and the last day, all the teams were at Alcy. So we started at 8 a.m. that morning. I think we ended, it was like 9 or 10 at night. It was late. It was late. What was great, I thought it was great showing of fans of Alcy, a lot of people had never been to Alcy. I had a lot of people come and go. I've never I didn't realize Elsie was here. It's such a beautiful area. So it's great to show off our school, to show off our area. Mr. Rothenberger and I actually got emails from the other schools thanking us for hosting the tournament and what a great time their players had. If you actually watched, or if you walked around the gym and looked up, you would see that all like our students were sitting with other teams, and other teams were sitting with other teams. It was a great way for students to commingle and learn about where other people are from. Mrs. Pearson, who is from Eddyville Charter, Mr. Rothenberg, it was their idea to put it on. It was a long 3 days, but it was a great long 3 days. So I think it's great for us to show off our school, and it was a great way for us to bring people in. And even at 8 o'clock in the morning, our gym was still pretty full. So it was great. And then I just want to congratulate Ristine for being elected as a member of the Rural Leadership Assembly for the OSBA Rural School Board Members Caucus. I think that's a big kudos for Ristine and for us to get out there and have our voice as a school district and in this region to be heard throughout the state. So there was a news release. I put that on there. But yeah, a lot of what I did in December was a lot of grants and paperwork. So
Thank you. Excuse me. Cumulative report for our regular attenders.
we are still working on how we get this data correct. We finally found a report. What we were finding, and this is part of the SIS system, is that how it was set up was not how we were pulling data. And what we also found is that that we weren't being consistent in entering our data. So we finally we spent about a month and a half getting things fixed. Bart or Mr. Rothenberger had a meeting with his staff, reminding them of their professional responsibilities to put in attendance. Mrs. Shunk met with Learn at Home. I met with my staff. We talked about it. What you're going to hear in the second semester is that attendance matters. That's going to be the push for us all. We are going to have an attendance assembly in February, and we're going to recognize all of our students who are considered regular attenders. Please remember, regular attenders are students who attend school 90% or more of the time as Oregon. I believe it's Oregon state law. But we as a district actually get held accountable for our attendance. That's part of our integrated guidance. And so our first assembly we're going to do a district-wide assembly where we recognize those students K through 12 who are coming to school 90% or more of the time. In the first semester, you could miss 7 days of school and still be considered a regular attender. So we're not asking for perfect attendance. In fact, I told my staff, don't throw out perfect attendance. None of us have perfect attendance, even as adults. But we need to put out that attendance matters. We need to put it out. I put it in our article that's going to go out to LC Valley Voice. You're going to start seeing it on our Facebook. We're going to really push, because the thing about attendance is you don't have to be the smartest kid. You could show up every day. And that's really all we're asking them to do now. So we're not asking you to get all A's. We're not asking you to get, whatever. We're asking you just to show up. So you can see that our attendance rate has decreased. We have our lowest rate is in 12th grade, and then next would be 5th grade and kindergarten. So we're really working on how do we get those students to school. And we do know the younger grades, it's not a lot of times their choice. So we need to emphasize to parents, we need to be at school each and every day. And the one thing that staff has reminded me and Mr. Rothenberg and Mrs. Shunk is they need to be on time each and every day. School starts at 8 a.m. Even though, we are at 8 a.m., like we start teaching at 8 a.m. And so that's the push we're gonna have as well. Other than that.
Can the board get the invite to that assembly?
Yes.
That'd be awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, the first name is two.
Business report. I think it's Deb.
Okay.
Let's see. Superintendent's business report,
So-
financial statement.
Mr. Staley couldn't be here tonight. It's just the update. We're still working on cleaning up some things. He has finally finished the audit. Finally. So we will present that, to you all next month. Just working a lot on ensuring that things are in the right spots. We are working on financial literacy of our administrative staff. One of the major pieces that we are looking at is how do we use our state grants to pay for things that, like, we need curriculum. We need some new manipulatives, and we obviously don't have that in the budget. So how do we use that to maximize our budget, those grants? So that's just his report from there. And then next week he will be going over, if you looked at the agenda, kind of the 2-year projection, what the state school fund really means, things like that.
Where is history for 1,200 feet?
All right, monthly enrollment. Laura, I think that's you, right?
Not really very much to report. Everything is holding steady. We just added another first grader yesterday
And a
to the
learn at
Learn at Home,
And a 6th grader to brick
and
and
a
mortar.
6th grade to the building. So everything is looking good.
Thank you.
Yes, this month, January, is School Board Appreciation Month. On behalf of the staff and students, we appreciate all the time that you all put in. I know sometimes it's not easy. It is a volunteer position, and we spend hours going to trainings and conferences and meetings. And so after our meeting, we have cake, and I want to put. I was gonna.
I feel like there's plenty for guests also.
Yeah. And we'd like to take a picture of you all so we can show our appreciation on our Facebook page and website as well. So thank you all for all the work you do.
Can we have our student body Photoshop Deb into our picture?
Yes, maybe. Deb, send us a cool picture.
While we're on this note, I'd like to thank the staff and students for the wonderful signs in the hallway. That was super sweet. I really appreciate seeing the notes and explanation of what the board does.
They're pretty good on that, weren't
They
they?
are. They are. So I appreciate that. I know I personally didn't have a lot of in-depth intel on what the school board does in a community, especially at a young age. So I thank the teachers for that, and I encourage you to keep pushing that and help them, encourage them to get involved with our board and with the processes of their school. So thank you.
I didn't see the signs. I guess I'll look at
They're super cute.
true pictures of us.
They did.
I guess my attendance now that I was ready to be pictures of us.
Okay, that wraps up our reports for this evening, and we can move into our new business. First up is our early literacy grant.
So the early literacy grant, this was the hallmark of the governor and the legislature's last session. They put aside, I want to say something like 15 million-ish, it might be more, for early literacy in the state of Oregon. Actually, it was more like 90 million, I'm sorry, because it's not just school districts, it's others. And so when we talk about early literacy, we're talking about money that's really geared only to students in kindergarten through 3rd grade. So this cannot be spent. I mean, we can spend it on 4th and 5th graders, but there has to be a match to that. We have to match anyway. So we have to match 25% of the amount of the money, which we already do. It was easy to find the match, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But the purpose of this presentation is just to really share information about our early literacy plan and our grant application, to provide opportunity for public comment and to seek your approval for the grant application. We submitted the grant on January 3rd. I was in a meeting with the governor yesterday, and all 197 districts in ESD submitted their grants. It is a non-competitive grant, but it's a 35-page application.
That's outstanding
Yes.
work.
Like I said, for this school year, Alcee will receive a little over 91,000. For the next school year, we'll receive 95,000. This is something that we are supposed to get every biennium. The allocations are based off of Ws. What I do want to caution the board on is that if we do get them next biennium, you will see that number probably be cut by a 4th or a 3rd. because these numbers are based on those ADMWs that are inflated.
Was this the one that they had talked about of being eventually wrapped up into, is it the ESSER?
Integrated guidance,
Integrated guidance.
which that's where you're gonna see this next one. So I just want to kind of prepare you all, like, we probably will not get this amount of money again. So in our review, like I said, Mrs. Shunk and I spent a lot of time, she spent most of the time doing it. One of the areas of strengths that when we looked at our program review is that we do have a consistent curriculum for ELA. That's the SAVIS adoption, which anybody will tell you that you do have to have a consistent curriculum because you want to teach the same vocabulary and the same strategy, so they're not hearing it differently. We do have instructional coaching. We have an instructional coach, Mr. Pearson, which I think is a huge strength because school districts our size often do not have that. And that we have the ability to have small groups with high dosage tutoring. So our teachers can work with 1 or 2 kids. And we have RTI aides and we have general ed aides. So we have the ability to have those small groups. Areas for growth and improvement, we need to do professional development, especially in the science of reading and other strategies. We really need to work on our family engagement for early literacy strategies, and we need to really work on implementing our core curriculum with fidelity, that we're not just going, yeah, we're going to teach it and then I'm going to pull this in, and we're going to really use our core curriculum. We're going to use it every day for 120 minutes. We're going to really focus on using every part of it. So that we're ensuring, again, that our students have that consistency. So when we talk about professional development and coaching, it's really about using the research-based strategies to teach phonological awareness, vocabulary development, fluency, and comprehension. When we do those PDs and coaching, it's really skills through PD trainings for things like science of reading strategies, and then our SAVIS curriculum. Observation and coaching by administration instructional coach. So my goal and my admins, well, my goal since I am, and Mrs. Shunk, since we are the K through 3 principals, is that every teacher will get 1 formal and 2 informal observations a year. Then they will be documented, and that really is state law anyways. And that then Mr. Using our kind of our observations and teachers kind of feel what needs they feel, Mr. Pearson then goes in and works with them. And so it's been great because he meets with every probationary teacher once a week for 30 to 45 minutes. And then he goes and they kind of talk about things that they need, and he'll go in and work with them on that. We also really need to look at engagement strategies. So for supporting early literacy for our parents and families. So how do we resource share? How do we increase the communications? Because we know more communication between teachers and family means that engagement is higher, which means student success will be higher. So when we do extended learning programs, so targeted small groups, we Mrs. Shunk likes to call them what I need time, so win time. So we create our small groups using our student data, like iReady. And those data really identifies the area of needs for individual students. So teachers can sit down and say, your vocabulary is, pretty good, but we need to work on your fluency. Let's read for 15, 20 minutes every day and work on getting that. We will also pay out of this, the ELL teacher. And when I say ELL teacher, we don't necessarily have a teacher specifically who just does ELL all day. We have Miss Pinion, who is actually ELL certified, is doing that as a stipend. And so she has gone to trainings about teaching sheltered instructional literacy strategy. She has been working with colleagues to implement some of those strategies. I'm hoping either this year or even next year that she'll be able to lead a training with all teachers about teaching those sheltered instructional literary strategies so that any student will be able to can benefit from those, but especially our students who are English language learners. And then, so those are our extended learning programs. High dosage tutoring, like I said, small groups, one-on-one sessions, 20, 30 minutes during class times, 2 to 3 times per week. They use data to differentiate instruction. We have leveled materials, which is a part of our curriculum, and then really different techniques to teach reading and writing. So our core curriculum is the MyView literacy. Our supplemental materials is open court learning, which is used through Learn at Home. And we use UFly, which is the University of Florida Literacy Institute, and we're implementing that in K-3. And it's kind of, I don't know if you've heard of Haggerty, but it's really about phonics. We had a master teacher come up in December and work with our K-1 teachers. And she, and Miss Olson actually has used this in her classroom as well. And that master teacher actually spent probably 4 or 5 hours with our K-1 teachers, showing them UFly, showing them resources, did some model teaching of UFly. We ordered things for them, and now our K-1 do UFly every day for 30 minutes. It's built into their schedule. So we're really getting that phonics. Our progress monitoring materials are the iReady reading, and then we also use the benchmark and summative assessment for that. We will bring iReady data to you guys actually in February after we have the second diagnostic. So how do we communicate our plan? We communicate it, talk about surveys, website, newsletters, social media, principals, reports, at board meetings, and then our annual report and data. So this is how we're going to tell people about how our early literacy plan is working. We use Dibbles and iReady for student growth assessment. Notice this says growth and not achievement. We're looking for growth. We are getting, like I said, we're getting ready to do the iReady second diagnostic to see how much students have growth and where perhaps we need to redo our groups or relook at curriculum needs for those differentiated instructions. And then Dibbles is a fluency piece. Sorry, that was Mr. Rothenberg. Is a fluency piece, and we're going to go back and do our students again so we can see how much they've grown in their fluency as well. So the district is required to match 25% of the funds, which for this year is a little over $22,000, almost 23. So we're using our SIA grant to provide the 25 match to the salary of an RTI aide and in the general fund through the purchasing of ELA curriculum. Again, our inventory, it's the same thing as the research-based curriculum. Our budget for the 23-24 school year. We are spending a 0.6 FTE on high dosage tutoring. It's the licensed reading instruction. All of my teachers, all of the district's teachers K-3 do small group time. And so we are using this budget or this money to really focus on that small group time. We're paying 0.6 for the ELL teacher stipend. Like I said, one of the things for a needs assessment is we really need to get some professional development and coaching. So there's a Science of Reading conference this summer in Florida that we have offered the K-6 staff to go to.
I think our previous 6th grade teacher went to that.
Yeah.
I think we've done in the past.
Yes, and so I have it out to my teachers. Right now I have 3 teachers. Our special education teacher, I've offered it to some aides too to go for that. So we're gonna hopefully get Mrs. Shunk's gonna go. I may go. We just need to get PD going, and I think this is a great way to really get intensive. And it's like 4 days from 8 to 8. Yeah. Hopefully I like. And then purchasing curriculums and supplies. So just really supplies and materials. When we did the Sabbath last year, we purchased just the base. And so we're really going to look at purchasing some of the extras. And even if we don't like the extras, even some like materials and manipulatives and stuff and things like that. And, you know, I've been really looking towards some of my teachers, like if you had to have something in your class, if your dream was to have this particular manipulative in your classroom, what would it be? And I've already gotten some really great things back that actually do tie to science of reading. So, and then the budget for the next school year, kind of same thing. And then again, I like to thank Mrs. Shunk, who pretty much gave up a lot of her Christmas break getting this done. And that is it. Is there any questions?
So you mentioned like because they're doing small group time, that counts as high dosage tutoring. Is that small group like set up with kids at similar reading levels?
Yes.
So what is a small group actually?
It depends. Some of them could be, so for example, like in our kindergarten class, sometimes it's 1 kid, sometimes it could be 3 depending on that. In our 1st grade class, sometimes she'll take 5, sometimes it will only be 1 or 2. It really depends. We look at the kids and we look at our data, and if we can say, okay, we have this many kids need fluency, we'll pull that many.
And is that Mrs. Penny you say she? Or is
No,
it-
it's the teacher. The teacher will run small groups.
Okay, so the teacher in the classroom.
Yep. And then they actually, so they do that during their core time as well, but they also have double dose time built in, which double dose would be that what I need time. And so then they will pull them in there as well. And then Miss Pinion really is just for that language piece. And it really, like I said, it's a 0.6 because I believe we have 7 ELL students, and out of that 7, like 4 of them are in the early literacy, it's that K through 3 range. So we're paying for her stipend out of that. So, and she's gonna start working with teachers, she's gonna start working with students in that range to really help with their literacy.
So while we're on the topic of literacy, and just for my own knowledge, can you tell me which staff member is our certified dyslexia trained staff?
Mrs. Olson.
Thank you.
So is there, I know that we're kind of having discussion, but I was gonna say, is there, we can consider a motion and then continue our discussion also? 'Cause I think that's more.
A motion to approve the early literacy success grant as presented.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, and then let's open up for discussion.
I have a question about the professional development. I noticed in the 24-25 budget, there isn't any delegation for that.
Well, so the other issue becomes is we have other monies I could use for it. So I actually have money built into the Title I for PD that I'm worried that I won't be able to spend. And so probably I'll do that so we could use more of staff time to really do those high, but we will continue to do PD. Though it is pumped.
Because I also, I like the fact that there's quite a bit of money set aside for PD in the budget there, but you know, I'm assuming there are gonna be staff members who can't make it to Florida for 4 days. Are there other opportunities? Because from what I understand for this, everybody needs to be retrained on the science of reading.
We are, yeah. And the reason I looked at this one in Florida is there's many districts in Oregon who are doing that. And OD said, yeah, that's perfect. I'm going to look for other ones. So for example, we have an RTI conference coming up in April. So I'm going to offer it if anybody can't go to the conference in Florida, then I'm going to offer them the one in Eugene. The issue becomes, as always, is if I send teachers, do I have enough subs? But luckily the one in Eugene is a Thursday, Friday. So I'm going to offer that to teachers if they can't go to the Florida one, and we're going to continue to look. I want teachers to have PD. I think that's really important, and I want them to have it in a way that makes sense for them in their lives. And so a lot of the PD we've done up to this point is a lot of asynchronous. And so I'm hoping that they have some of that as well. And PD could also be if they find books they want to read and really use strategies. I'm willing to even start like a PD library for the teachers. Tell me what you want that we can have that you can come in and check out. So there's multiple different ways that I'm going to look at PD for this. The not spectacular part is that the $91,000 has to be spent. I want to say June 30th. Maybe September. So, I'm going to really sit with the teachers and go, okay, how are we going to go? What do we need to do? Because if you don't use it, you lose it. There's no carryover on that. So PD will look in multiple different ways. It's just really that summer conference is what the big hallmark is.
Because I remember from the little class I went to at the conference, the larger districts actually hire a full-time teacher to teach the staff how to teach the science stuff. So they have to hire a full person just to get everybody trained up to do that.
Well, and yeah, I'm hoping, and I know that there is a science of reading class, and I'm hoping if I can find a district that does that, maybe I can buy some of their teacher too. So that's my hope, is that we can get in there. But, for me, this is really important that we get our K through T. Actually, I think it's really important for our K through 6 teachers all to have it. And so, this money really can't be wholly spent on 4, 5, and 6. So then I jump into the title money to pay for that. But I believe Portland Public Schools has and so I'm kind of hoping to reach out to some of my contacts in Salem and Portland and Albany and say, hey, if you have somebody who can do that training, I'll pay them. And I get to pay my teachers to do that work. So.
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
Well, maybe just one. Oh, no, two. I have two. So when I wanted to talk about consistency, so we invest in our staff and we want to make sure that we're providing this from the K through 3, which we know will
Mhm.
spill over as they continue to grow in the school system. I know this maybe, and do correct me if I'm operational, but I guess from an admin level, how are we ensuring that, or how do you ensure that the teachers are consistently taking this and then teaching it without putting their own spin that then impacts the child? Do you know what I mean? Am I
Mhm.
saying that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, that's through the observation and coaching.
Okay.
You know, my big thing is that I think teaching is a science, but teaching is also an art. And so we want teachers to get the science down, but my philosophy is I can give the best curriculum to a teacher who maybe is not great at artistry and they're not going to get anything.
Mhm.
I can give a curriculum that is not great, but I have a teacher who's great at artistry that can really take that curriculum and make it alive. Our goal is to take a curriculum that really is engaging for our students and a teacher who has the skills and really flourish with that. And it's not even just teaching a whole group, it's how do you break into small groups? And how do you really look at a student and say, this student needs to work on fluency, but this one has it, this one needs to work on comprehension. So that's really teaching teachers how to teach. The science of reading is more of here are strategies on how you can do it, but a teacher, I can teach a teacher any strategies, but they have to implement it and teach. And so it's really through that coaching. That's why I think it's great that we have Tim, because he is a very neutral type of party. You know, when your boss comes in and says, hey, here's the things I need to see, you're like, oh, but when you have somebody who's kind of your colleague come in and say, hey, let me look at this, let me pull some stuff for you, let's talk about it. And I think we are very lucky to have an instructional coach. It is not often that a school district our size has one. And so he's great to get into classrooms. And that's really what him and I have talked about a lot about focusing is how do we get teachers to teach in the classroom versus me coming in only, you know, maybe 3 times a year. And I mean, I go in more, but having those, you know, observations 3 times a year where he can go in more than I, and he's not worried about this paperwork or this discipline issue. He's more worried about what do you need from me for you to be a better teacher. And so I've even offered for him to go to this because I think it would help him grow his capacity as a coach as well.
Thank you. And then, sorry, I just had one more that kind of followed that same lines. Oh, it was right there. This is what I get. I should have written it down. Oh, engagement. You talk so much about engagement with the parents, and I love that. And I absolutely agree. We've talked about it a ton in board conferences. The way to student success is to bring the parents in and engage them. I know sometimes though that some of the engagement that our teachers have, because it's scheduled this way, is through that conferences. However, when we have those small groups, how does the staff engage with the parents to say, hey, we're doing this? Is there a practice that you want to put in place with your teachers to do that?
I've asked my teachers to do weekly newsletters home, especially at the K through 6. Most of them are. We got to work a little bit on making them not so long because, you know, but I think it's also important that our teachers communicate in that, you know, I have a couple teachers who actually use the SIS system to do weekly emails to teachers like, and here are ways that you can help your student do this. And so it's really about giving our teachers, one, we have to break down the barriers of how do you communicate with your families, because a lot of positive communication up front will save a lot of issues later. If we can talk about what you're doing in your classroom and be very open, I think that really leads to that transparency part. But I also think, you know, putting in like small tidbits. I'm not a huge homework fan at the lower levels because I do think kids need to go do things outside and have that engagement outside of the school. But I also don't think, you know, if you look at research, it's like if a student is read to or a family reads to students their children for 20 minutes every night, let's say like 4 times a week, I think they're like 80% more likely. And it's like, how do you get that piece of families just sitting down and reading out of a book? One of the things, and I believe I sent you guys pictures at Christmas time that out of Title I money, I had the teachers buy books for every student in their class. And really, we put a little sticker on the inside that said, this is really for your family to enjoy, because we wanted that family togetherness. And it's really about how do we build that capacity? Well, sometimes people don't have the ability to go to the library. And so we want to build their home library and build it with books that we know are engaging
and that families can read together and talk about and things like that. So I think really about how do we give the parents those little tidbits, and really Miss Shunk has been really working on thinking about how do we give those ways for parents to have those skills to teach their kids. And it's not even just teaching, it's just about reading with them. And 20 minutes a night. And I think that to me is not homework. It's just a way to be with your kids and to learn more about them. So those are types of things. But the teachers, like I said, we're working on sending newsletters home every week about here's how you can support your kids in this capacity.
Awesome. Thank you. Sorry, Jimmy.
It's okay. I am commenting on something you stated that kind of reiterates Chris's statement. I took one of the seminar sessions I took was on the early literacy framework. And it was interesting to me that the director of literacy for Oregon Department of Education self-tattled that when she was starting out in her career as a second grade teacher, she actually had to go back and take night classes on how to truly teach reading because it wasn't foundationally in their education. So the fact that we're investing in teaching our staff how to do that science reading is exciting to hear because I think that's going to set our students up for success. This might be operational, but it's just an idea that popped into my head. I've heard community members state that they would love to be able to volunteer more. Is there parent and community member volunteers and potentially older student involvement in those small groups or a plan for that?
Well, we kind of talked about it. The thing would be is that we would have to train them. It wouldn't just be like, like for example, one of the things I've been thinking about and I need to look into is they have smart reading, start making readers today. And so hopefully Benton County has it, and that's when you can volunteer. Usually they have community members volunteer and they come in and read specifically with K1 and 2s weekly. And so I'm hoping to find some of those pieces. Anybody who wants to volunteer can also reach out to teachers and say, hey, maybe can I come in maybe 30 minutes a week and just read with kids? And we have the volunteer packets. They have to go through that process, but I think, if anybody wants to volunteer, they're more than happy to reach out, more than welcome to reach out to teachers and, set up that time for that.
So in November, had the report card, we had third grade 17% that are sufficient at grade level reading. So I guess I have some opinion on where we're spending the money because I don't know that this plan is going to help our students this year learn to read. I feel like we need more early intervention than training our staff, and I believe personally that we should be spending money on say a Miss Opinion to come in and facilitate helping these kids that are behind. I agree with staff development. I think it's wonderful, but when is that meeting important?
It's in July.
Yeah, so that does nothing except pay the bill for that to use this money to help our kids the second semester in their reading. And so my fear is that these small groups are not enough. Some of us probably have children struggling with reading in school, and I believe we should have monies allocated for this second semester. What we're going to do, if we're going to call it high dosage tutoring, I think it needs to be high dosage tutoring. I think we need to identify the students that are standard is subpar in reading and have a intervention for them, whether that's a teacher that's already trained that can provide resources for them to meet with those children, or bringing in someone outside the school to do that.
So remember, we have the SIA grant where we actually pay for 2 RTI aides. So they are those students that you were talking about. They are not only getting the high dosage tutoring with their teachers, they're also getting pulled with small groups for the RTI aides who work with the teachers and work with strategies for them as well. So they're actually almost getting 2 different types of high dosage tutoring per day. So and I will be honest with you, one of the major issues that I struggle with, and I also struggled with the SIA and the high school success, is that we do know that our budgets probably will be cut by 1/3. And so by using this and I don't necessarily disagree with you, Russ, but if
we don't know these teachers are going to stay next year either. And, yeah, we would hope they come in July and stay, but I I cannot vote that we're gonna do something that's gonna start in July to start teaching our children to read now. I mean, I believe we need to start teaching them to read better now. I just can't. The $22,000, I get it. I think it's wonderful. I would go to Florida in July, maybe not July, in February to a conference. I just believe we need more resources now at the school. And if this money's available and it has to be spent by June, I think we should be spending this money and looking at next year's money to put this professional development for July. Because I just, that's my point.
Any other discussion? Deb, I can't see if you're nodding your head or shaking your head, so I'll just give you an option to speak up if you have anything.
Nope, I've been listening. Soren and Russ are a little hard to hear. But the rest of them we're good.
Okay, thank you. So there is a motion and there is a second. We've completed discussion, so we can move to a roll call vote.
Let's take the vote. Deb,
Yes.
Soren, Christine,
Yes.
Russ,
No.
Jamie.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Next up is our CTE building construction for contractor bid with the Giggies. If you guys would come up to the hot seat, thank you.
Hey,
Yeah,
hey, Deb. She doesn't, yeah.
yeah.
Deb,
Yes.
what the Giggies are saying, we actually just got this at like 4 o'clock today and we haven't put it on the website because we wanted the board to see it first. Would you like Laura to run and scan you a copy of this real quick? So you can see what they're saying? You
Sure.
need to, because we're voting.
That would be great.
Okay,
Okay.
she'll go run and they'll talk and then she'll give you that.
So let's give Laura 5 minutes. Is that good, do you think?
Sure.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute recess and then we'll come back in.
I want to get a hot seat and then a break. And you asked the question I wanted to ask.
Culinary arts.
Volunteers to come in and help read. Some parents are not going to read. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really good way. Which may have been former teachers. Yeah, no, and I'm thinking, if they want to call and just start a list, and maybe I'll say, hey, like a smart. I don't know if Benton County has.
But no. Some of those former teachers or grandparents might have actually trained this next. But I've understood old school. Yeah, this is an old school thing, and so all the current teachers don't know when they have to be trained before they can do it. But our teachers might already know.
One thing I will say, and my personal opinion, not in the board member. One thing I've learned in this district, they really got used to relying on themselves. Really didn't. Never really received. So I think if that for you as okay, come support our readers, come support small groups, reach out to your teachers, fill out the packet. Here's the packet online, fill it out, and it's for whatever it may be. We keep theirs. Might feel more like fun. Okay. No, I think it would be. I think it's like, when you look at smart reading, a lot of times it's like that would be great. They loved it. They got. I don't know if it's required to follow a certain program, but I can't help but know with my. A lot of times fluency is yeah. And so if we have staff, we have older students are looking at education. Just come, listen, faith and, we were to reach out and request, not just rely on them to initiative, because I can say that the doors have been very shut at times.
I'm emailing my.
My Catholic school, kids were in Catholic school, parents went in and just listened to the kids read books, wish they had one-on-one time to read, because that way you could, even somebody who's not the best reader can pick up. But just giving them time to read, but
Experience in school wellness, when I volunteered.
I have the document.
great.
Oh, you got it?
Outstanding.
Perfect.
Turned on by the fact that the teacher was having me make copies and her prep work versus action. So I got burnt out with that and then it was just, but
Okay. All right. We will go back into session. And pick up where we left off. And Deb has the documents now, so thank you, Laura. CTE building construction contractor bid, as Krista shared, this is the first time we've gotten to really glance at it. And I think that there are going to be questions for you probably prior to a motion, if that's okay.
Good
Okay.
evening, everybody. Good to see you again. So
And-
this is what we've been working for a number of months, as you know, is working up to getting some bids on the construction costs for the CTE building. So you should have 4 pages. If you'll recall from several months ago, we pre-qualified 3 general contractors. All of them are great general contractors. Well, bids were due at 4 o'clock today. You have the cover sheet from those bids, which is really the pertinent part, which is their construction costs that they're bidding. Now, this is a hard bid, so this is what's going to go in the contract with that number if you approve it. And the idea with pre-qualification was that then they're all apples to apples. They give us a number, and the idea is the low number is the one that we will take. We would have to have a very good reason to take a higher number, not that we would want to. So anyway, point, just reiterating, all 3 of them are equally good contractors. So the first 3 pages you have are the 3 cover sheets from the bids. First one is GBC Construction, and that was about 2.5 million. That's the number that you're seeing there. There's an alternate number 1 that was for some elements of an upgraded, well, the base bid included an upgraded metal wall and roof panels. That this removes an alternate 1, basically takes that back to just a simple wall and roof panel with insulation required by the energy code. Equally good, great performance. It was just something that the architect wanted to consider. Second number you have there is from Todd Construction. They were actually the low number, and they came in at just under 2 million for the base bid with a deduct of 150,000 for the alternate. And then the third number you have is from Wildish, and that came in at 2.2 million with a deduct of 130,000 for that. So anyway, those were our 3 numbers. So what we did was we took the low number, which was Todd, and then we took that and put that in the 4th page that you have, which is the budget summary sheet. That's the one that we've been reporting to you every month. So we took their base bid number. We also applied alternate 1, which was taking that $150,000 out of it, which takes their construction cost value to 1.85 million. And we've plugged that in. So you can see that in the committed cost. This is the first time we've shown this. If you go down below to the expense area, you can see the current budget columns and the committed cost columns. Those match. That's because now we've said, okay, we're applying funds to meet these commitments if the board approves that. You can also see all the way down design, consultant fees, everything else, all those other numbers apply. I should say that we also have allowances in here for permit costs, fire alarm construction, BOLI fees, special inspections, basically all the other costs associated with the CTE building, getting it done and across the finish line are already included in the expenses. So the difference that you do see at the very bottom of that expense is the owner's contingency row. Do you see that one? And in the past, we've had a number in there that said, here's the number we'd like to have. We'd like to have contingency. There may be some unforeseen items that come up that the owner's responsible for. What the current budget takes us to is it gives us $61,000 in owner's contingency. And we're relieved that we came in within budget, that we've got a bid that somebody's going to go under contract for, and we can get the building built. We'd like to have more contingency. And as we explained to Krista today, until we get our earthwork done, utility work, and get up with our steel, there could be surprises. Now, we're going to manage this, manage change orders extremely tight, and there won't let them go with it's already in the construction documents, but there could be little things. We talked about this with Krista today. So based on these numbers, we feel comfortable that Todd Construction can complete this building within budget, and we do have some owner's contingency to take care of some unforeseen things that might come up at the beginning of the project. I'm going to stop there and just see if anybody has any questions before we go on.
Are you not concerned at all about the difference between Todd and GBC? That seems pretty significant. Are you confident in the low amount that Todd presented to us?
Yeah, well, what I did was I pulled up the schematic estimate that we had our third-party estimator do back then, putting in the estimating contingencies and unforeseens and things like that. Their range was 1.8 million to 2.1 million. So Todd's numbers within that. I also like the fact that Wildish is a little bit more. GBC, I don't know why, but I can tell you right now that steel and some other elements are funny numbers. And some of these folks, I mean, they're using a subcontractor pool. GBC is in Corvallis, Todd's in Portland. They may have some folks there who are maybe more aggressive. We're hearing rumblings that Portland's getting a little hungrier as a construction contractor market. So I think given what we've seen and compared to the estimate, plus the fact that we're going to have bonds on this, we already have a bid bond, for example. So yeah, they know what they're getting into. They're a solid company. They do this kind of work day in and day out.
One of the things that's factor in their bid is when is their completion date. And Todd also believes they completed when we want it. GBC was very generous with the amount of time. They didn't want to have it completed until October. So for whatever reason, they're not feeling like they can.
Okay. So is that why that says an NA, is that they feel like they can meet our deadline,
That's what that
no
means.
extended deadline?
No, that's right. No, the NA means, yep, they'll agreeing to a contract, because we have liquidated damages in the contract. If they miss that deadline, there's $300 a day that they're going to be paying the district back for missing it.
Okay.
So they're agreeing in this to put that in the contract that's mid-August. And to Nancy's point, these folks have relationships or may have relationships with different design build metal building companies.
And they also, I mean,
apples to apples.
they built Meadow Ridge Elementary in Albany. And their front homepage has 5 schools as their leading, projects, so I think.
No, they're well
I think they know
qualified.
what they're doing, I would imagine.
All 3 firms are well qualified. We're happy to have any of the firms do this construction.
Can I ask just a terminology question? In the past, we heard a lot about guaranteed maximum price. And then tonight you just talked about a hard bid. Are those equivalent statements? Or will we get to a GMP later? Just kind of break down maybe what hard bid
Sure.
means in your guys' world.
GMP is typically used when you do the CMGC method. Which basically has kind of an open book with that contractor. That's because there is a difference with hard bid. The open book, they show us all the details for subcontractors. They've got a contingency that's very visible to us. There's a lot of give and take with the CMGC, some flexibility with that. Hard bid, this is the number that's going to go in the contract. We're going to pay them that amount when they finish the job.
Okay. Okay, that's what I,
Similar to a firm fixed.
That's That's it.
Firm fix.
That's the
Okay.
number, so.
Thank you.
With the GMP is that if they can't, we can't verify that they actually spent that money, they have to give it back to the school district.
Okay,
But if they go over that GMP, it's on them. That's their guaranteed maximum price.
I gotcha.
And-
Okay.
and So that, but this is one way or the other, this is what we'll pay.
Apples to oranges a little bit in that comparison.
It
So,
is. It's a
okay,
different-
perfect.
it's a
That's
different way
good
of
to
doing it.
understand. So
Yes.
thank you.
Other questions?
I have a question, if you don't mind.
Please.
What does the alternate total figures negative 150,000 mean?
Yeah, what was that?
So
was that-
I'm on Todd's bid. I'm reading Todd's bid.
Right.
And
right.
it says base total 1.997, and then it says alternate one total negative 150,000. What does that mean?
Right, right. So during the design, as we got into near the end, there's a couple of different approaches you can use for insulating the metal walls and the metal roof of the building. And the architect really likes, it's a nicety, it's not a have to, but they really like pre-insulated metal walls and roof panels. Basically, they come from the factory pre-insulated. And versus what this base bid basically takes that out, and it goes back to using just metal walls and roof, and then framing that in, and then adding insulation like you would in a stick built, a wood framed building. Still meets energy code. It's still going to satisfy the needs. It's just not this kind of slick, cool product. We almost, in fact, we did at one point, we were talking with Krista, we asked them to just leave this out and just go with the basic, non-insulated panel. It's great. It satisfies everything. We knew it was going to be a lot more expensive. The architect was interested in seeing what the number was, and so we allowed it to stay in as an alternate.
So their bid is actually 1.857. Is that correct?
That's correct, Devin. That's the number that we put into this budget summary that you have. You don't have the details with that, but that's in that committed cost for construction. We use
Okay.
the number with that alternate with that deductive amount included.
I don't know if I can ask this question, but I'm gonna ask and you can tell me I can't ask it, but Todd Construction, are they in the area or are they out of the area?
Yeah, Todd, no, that's a good question. Todd Construction is Portland, and it's definitely a consideration as we were reviewing qualifications. One of the advantages they have is they have a local budget is superintendent. That's the person who's actually on the site every day. And that's worth a concern. If you have a very large company from Portland and they're driving down every day, sometimes you don't get good service. The fact that, but they do have a good reputation, and the fact that their superintendent is fairly local, we feel pretty confident that they'll do a good job.
Are the other two companies local or are they also out of the area?
A GBC is Corvallis, and Wildish is Eugene.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet. You bet.
Other questions? Excuse me, I apologize. Anything else you want us to know?
I think that's it. We're just asking for you folks to, like to do, approve that recommendation. Including that deduct for the alternate.
Okay.
With this budget this will be the budget that we'll work toward with your approval.
I guess I had one question. I'm
Oh, go for
sorry.
it, Deb. Sorry.
If we approve any one of these three bids, when would construction start?
That'll be the next question we'll be asking them. The deadline, we plan to write the contract. We've already got it drafted and get it into their hands this week so that they can get going on insurance and everything else and mobilization. But the clock is ticking because with this, and Deb, I think you can see that we mentioned it. Sorry, but the
Completion date of August the 16th?
exactly. So they're going to be as anxious as we are for them to get started. I would expect that within 3 weeks, we'll be seeing them out there. And we have permits well underway, so we should have permits in hand within 2 to 3 weeks as well.
Okay, and you have 100% confidence in the 3 bids that you've presented.
Yes, we certainly, that's having been on that side of it for a number of years. These are numbers that these folks know they don't have a choice. They have to, we're gonna write the contracts around this. They won't get any more money.
Okay, thank you.
And they run the risk of losing money with the liquidated damages.
Right, and we're holding bonds on them and we've got their insurance and everything else. So if they don't perform, we have protection.
Thank you.
One more question,
Please.
just about the numbers from looking at this Todd construction bid, we have, looks like 60,000-ish left over as a contingency. And so in that case, these other bids would not even be in budget.
Correct. Yeah, they would be, I mean, you could just take the difference and add it up there with GBC. If that were the low number, we'd be looking at what to do. So that's why, frankly, we're breathing a sigh of relief. I would like the numbers to have been a little lower. I was hoping that we might come in with the number of 1.8, maybe even a little lower than that. But this gets us within our budget.
So are there any questions? Or if not, we can consider a motion.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'll make a motion to accept the bid proposal from Todd Construction, and project budget summary. That's how.
I'll second.
That's perfect. Good job. And so there's a motion and a second. We've had discussion. Any further discussion though, since we're formalized? All right. Oh,
The only one last question I thought of, because of their reputation, you're saying school districts came up on their website, we're not gonna run into any background staff checks, personnel and staff
No,
doing
we
construction?
already did that during the pre-qualification.
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
And whenever school is in session, anybody who's coming on site who might have contact with kids always has a background check.
Okay, and they've been vetted for that, and we're not gonna run into any issues with that.
They're used to this scenario.
Okay.
So we'll get a
That'll work.
specific, what Nancy's saying is we'll get a specific list of their people who are on site, even if they're behind fences. And they'll
I
have-
just know that would be a
they'll have
concern to the
clear
community,
records.
so I wanna make sure we
Yes.
And that will-
verbalize that.
That will include the subcontractors. Anybody that they hire will have to have a background check.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just big role, I guess.
Go ahead and do a roll call, Laura.
Let's take a vote. Sorry, Soren,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Ristine,
Yes.
Russ,
Yes.
Deb.
Yes.
The only thing I was gonna ask is, so during this, because of the location of this construction, is that back road to the school gonna be like managed for I mean, I just can imagine the amount of equipment coming in. A lot of teachers and students use that back road by the alley or library.
Just staff.
Just the staff.
That's just the
Okay.
staff lot now.
Yeah.
We moved
Okay.
this students up.
We do have to review that with them. We're at one point, we will have a lot of steel and they will have a crane and they'll be lifting it into place and there's trees along that road. I think there could be periods of time when that lot is not available for staff use, but we're gonna try to minimize that. That's one of the things we're gonna be doing right off the bat with them is not only schedule, but looking at some of those mobilization and construction.
Yeah, and the way we went about this fence project, we didn't fence it, so there's a construction area. We fenced the construction area into the fence, so that's kind of whatever, but.
What we like to do on this kind of project though is if we can make it available, we will. If we're going to have to block it off, we'll communicate with the district and with the community and say, hey guys, heads up, there's gonna be a bunch of semis coming in this morning. If you don't have to go to the backside, please don't. There's gonna be a crane on site. If there's gonna be noise, anything like that, we're gonna try and get communicates out to the community and to the staff so they have that knowledge ahead of time.
No, that's an excellent point. Even just because there are claxes in proximity to that site, it's going to be noisy during part of the construction. So we'll have that information to Krista, Laura, and others in advance so they know.
It's a 4-day school day. Sometimes they can even schedule, things to be allowed can be on Friday.
I just want to say thank you again so much
Yeah, you guys
for
are
getting
amazing.
us
We're
over this.
so glad to be
hill.
here.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
So
Very
glad to
excited.
get to this point. We're
Yeah.
excited to see it start.
Amen.
Outstanding. Thank you
Thank
guys so
you.
much.
And I know this isn't on the website under the board book, but we are gonna post it so community can see it.
So this is shareable.
Yes.
Mhm.
We just wanted to make sure you guys were the first ones to see it.
Now, is there any discussion about, forgive me, is it Soderstrom that's doing the visual that did our Soderstrom?
To do
They were
the
gonna do their
schematic.
their walkthrough.
Like a 3D video.
They had said something about doing one of those for us to be able to post
Do
on
you
the
want to have that on the
website.
website?
It would
Yeah,
be
we can-
great,
we
or
can follow
Facebook
that up.
at
Yeah.
minimum.
Absolutely. It's pretty minimal walkthrough. We have brought this building down just as small as we can. So it's
Yeah.
gonna be, we're walking in this door and we're walking out that door. But
However, if I think we can give, we watched one that they had going on their little TV screen at their vendor session of our conference. And I think our community would be excited that we're finally here and to be able to visually have a
Certainly.
walkthrough. I think it would
The still shots
increase the
alone
excitement again.
give you a little bit of
Yeah.
perception and yeah,
That was
just that
really
walkthrough, really
cool.
just this isn't an advertising tool. This really is for our students to be able to succeed in life. And so
Yeah.
that would be nice to be able to help them put that.
And I think as a member of the community, I think it's gonna be really exciting to just see it happening.
Well, and that really fancy video we got back in the day that was just, the Taj Mahal. The reality isn't that great, but it's still something to be incredibly excited about for our students. And so showing the community exactly what they're going to get for their money. And that, yes, we're still going to succeed for our students, that their money did not go to waste, would do some healing.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Okay, next up is the proposed budget calendar, which is for this budget session. It actually kicks off January 17th, which is next week, which is our work group, our work session. And then has, the dates outlined, which I know Don's not here, just thank him ahead of time for such a beautiful outline. That's not just a few weeks in advance.
I want to say that I typed it.
Oh, okay. Okay. I think there is like a larger gap due to maybe some vacation time, but everything falls within what's appropriate and to be approved for not only the budget, but then spending the monies and then having the board approve it and things like that. So that is the calendar that's in front of you today.
I move to approve the 2024-2025 proposed budget calendar as presented.
All right, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion?
Just wanted to know that June 15th is my 50th birthday. Big milestone. You're at a public hearing on the budget for regular school board meeting. Mine's really exciting. Someone put me a cake.
If we promise you cake and streamers,
Oh, yes.
Someone
Hat.
better make me a cake.
Deal.
we can all wear
I'm gonna have
hats.
to wear a hat the whole time too.
And I'm gonna have a 1-month-old baby at 50, so
You can also bring the
Ew.
baby behind the table. It appeases the crowd. Noted.
Sorry.
Yes, so currently we have 4 budget vacancies, or confirmed vacancies. So we do need budget members. It's a crucial point to being successful is hearing from the community. We are part of the budget committee, so there's extra amongst us too. So if you have people that you know that are interested, or you think would like to be more engaged, but maybe a commitment to a board seat is too much. So this is still a way to get involved and have an understanding of how the district is spending this money and allocating money. They can reach out to Laura and get an application. And, as we get a little closer to that time, we would happily maybe even bring them the application to help facilitate that. But we do want a good budget crew.
Yes, and so you guys will decide on your budget committee vacancies by appointment on the 14th. So the Applications will be due to Laura the week prior, so Thursday, March 7th. So that's what we'll put out on the website, Facebook, and email, and we'll do that. We'll do that this week, and we'll just keep going for it.
All right, so I heard a motion in a
Qualified to be on the
second.
budget committee, do you just have to live like within the school district?
Yep, you have to live within the school district boundaries. Yep.
All right, so there's a motion and a second on there. Is there any further discussion? All right, Laura, you want to go ahead and do the roll call vote?
Okay, let's take a vote. Deb,
Yes.
Russ,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Soren.
Yes.
Okay, we don't have anything under old business. We don't have anything for readings this month. Any board comments?
I have a question regarding the regular attenders, the focus and assembly for attendance.
Mhm.
Is there an incentive or a competition happening?
So we're looking at different things. So the incentive would be, so we want to, so students who are at 90% or above attendance will get an ALSI attendance t-shirt. That is actually written into the SIA grant. The other piece we're doing is, and I don't want to call it a class competition, but we're doing class like competition amongst themselves. And so one of the things that we're talking about, and actually Sarah Littlefield and Samantha Petter are helping, is that we're going to do, when a class hits 90%, they're going to put up a little thing that we're going to have bulletin boards in both hallways. And when they get 10 days of 90%, just 10 days, not 10 consecutive days, 10 days, then we're going to throw them a party. Right now, I think we're going to start with a popcorn party. That we'll just take a popcorn machine. We're going to buy one and it goes in their classroom. We throw them a popcorn party and then we start again. And then we're going to try to make it where it is something like when your class gets, the 90%, your class all goes out and puts your little popcorn or whatever kernel up so we can see and we can show people which classes are getting what and stuff like that. So
There's something we can do as a board.
Let's digest it. I
Yeah.
think and talk through it and make sure we align with what the school is doing. But I would say that yes, there's something we can always.
I think it's really talking to parents about the importance of coming to school. We actually just sent a letter home. We're sending it by the end of this week to every single parent of any ALSI student. Learn at home, a brick and mortar, and Bart, Heather, and I wrote a letter talking about the importance. We sent flyers home because one of the things I think is really hard since COVID is my kid has a sniffle. I'm not sending them to school. No, here's some ways that when you should keep your kid home and when they should go to school. We're sending home a flyer that talks about, if your kid has missed 90% each month or missed 2 days per school each month, that is still 90%. Any more than that would be considered less. 2 days a month, like. And, also talking about, when you're especially in the early literacy, if you're considered not a regular attender, you're 70% more likely not to be reading on grade level by third grade. So we're just sending some stuff home. We're trying to keep it very positive and proactive versus very punitive. Because really, when we talk about, we do have law and district policy that talks about compulsory attendance, and parents can be held liable if their student is not attending school on a regular basis. But we don't want to go there. We want to really make it so that kids and parents understand the importance of coming to school and what that does. So can I digest your question? Put me on the spot, Jamie.
I don't know if there's something we can do to do books for the winter or a certificate signed by all of us for the winter, just to show that we're supporting the
Mhm.
family and their effort that they're putting in, that it doesn't go unrecognized by us.
Okay, so I'm gonna flip side that one and turn it on its tail and say, and how can we help those that aren't attending?
Yeah.
What can we do? Because I speak data, it's my love language, but it's not everybody's love language. And I get that. We need people that can see things in a different light. So if there's things that we can do differently also to encourage or help.
Remove barriers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, there's your homework.
Thanks.
along with everything else.
Thank you.
Any other board comments?
I do. I want to just second your comments about the basketball tournament. I was there almost the whole time. That was really a good look for our school and our town. It went really well. There was some really good basketball. The other teams traveled really well. I know a lot of people put a lot of work and long hours of making that happen, but it went fairly flawlessly with the exception of one heckler. But I mean, the rest of it, really people put a lot of work into it. I want to recognize that a lot of people put a lot of work into that without naming everybody, because there were tons of people with that. That really went really well. I was really happy that happened.
It was great. And like I said, I think it's really great that we got to show off our school and we got to show off and people now know where Elsie's at.
Is that a first annual?
I kind of hope so. There was a lot of work.
Mr. Rothenberger
First
says, yes, it
annual?
would be a first annual. I think we'll have to speak with Eddyville and see how tired they were.
It was a lot of time, but I would support doing it over and over.
We
It
watched
was a
like,
good look.
what did we watch? 32 games of basketball in 3 days.
Yep.
And I'm not a huge.
I have a
fan of-
callus from the shot clock.
Joy, I think Joy Jordan did clock for
The entire
all
time.
32 games.
Mhm.
And I learned, we have like a little gem that we didn't know with Talon. Like you can make any kid feel like a pro baller going out there.
Mhm.
I'd also like to praise Eddyville's community. They also took that opportunity to do some amazing fundraisers.
They
I
did.
hope that maybe we'll have some opportunity to learn from some of their examples. So well done.
I wish I could take all the credit for it, but I can't take any. Mr. Rothenberg and Miss Pearson and the staff, and you're right, Talon worked really hard and he was here cleaning the school, and Amy worked. I mean, I came at 7 in the morning one day and I think she beat me here. I'm sorry, concession stand was rocking. It was great. Like I said, we got to show off our school, which I always think is important.
Well done.
One other thing I wanted to kind of promote that showed our school, it was not a school activity, but the lobster drop thing. I know some of the kids in the art class built that thing. It was nice. It was a cool event, and I think a lot of people who aren't normally associated with school activities saw that, and the kids who built it were there, and it was just cool to see that there's, the community has talked about wanting art in the school for a long time, and it shows that finally some of what they want is happening. The kids built that thing and people liked it.
Perfect.
I thought I was dropping at midnight, so I was driving home from Mount Hood with my son, so I had to pick him up from work before New Year's, and it was already down, and I was like, what happened? And I thought it was like gonna be a midnight festival.
They did.
They did
They did.
twice.
They did it
Oh,
twice.
did they?
Oh, I
Because
thought
it was
down
one
at,
during
like,
the day.
8:30 or 8 when I came by.
It was one
dark
during
and
the
down.
day for like the
I
kids,
thought I
kiddos that
was,
couldn't stay out that
They
late.
wanted
That's
to
what
do
I
for the
was
little
doing that
kids, and
midnight.
I sat there.
Sorry,
all
Doug.
night.
I know
Okay.
the show that was happening on that.
We had a lot to celebrate. It was my baby's first birthday, 2 a.m. But I'm still sorry. I'd have got your text the next morning. Anyway, are we still doing the future agenda items after this?
We are,
Okay.
yes. Deb, do you have any board comments?
I do. I
Go for it.
thought that the lobster drop was a really great idea. I was really excited about that. Unfortunately, I didn't get to attend. I would like to see maybe a little more advertising on that, because I didn't know anything about it until Dave Lynch came into the cafe and was talking to me about it. So I hadn't even seen anything anywhere. But I was really excited for our community. I really wanted to go down, but I just couldn't make it. I was really sad to hear the lady come in this evening and speak. And Krista, I'd like to get with you on a similar subject at a later time. But I think overall, I hear some really great things for our school, and I'd like to keep up the good work.
Oh, very good. Okay, so then I wanted, mine's a kind of a praise and a call out. So I've been doing some research, I've been learning about other education systems outside of America. And so a lot of things we talk about are standardized tests. So I want to actually call out super awesome. Found this out from some of the students, the way Mr. Lynch is handling his art finals. They're not, they got to pick their project, they got to do their project, they get to highlight their skills, and they get to beautify the school in the space that they would like to do that. They had to come up with an idea and all of that. I thought, what an outstanding way to see what they've learned and make sure it's appropriate and things like that, and not check mark a box. And, I thought that was super outstanding. I loved hearing about that. So just great. That's mine.
Art is one. I'm glad we
Okay.
even have an art program. You know, kids, my kids went to school in Portland, they didn't have art. So they didn't have the money for it.
And if this is an appropriate time, I thank you for coming with your vulnerability.
Thank you, Karen.
You were heard, and I hope we as a board can assist you with the appropriate way to handle that in the future. And I hope we can work with you to regain the trust and respect of our community. So, thank you.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close board comments and we'll move to future agenda items. Go for it.
So yeah, I would propose that at the next board meeting, we discuss a summer reading contest in partnership with the library. And I would be willing to, either through our nonprofit, since I have another board member here, which we can contribute to other nonprofits, which school is, or myself, fund a hot air balloon ride at the end of August for the winners, if they chose to do it. And, yeah,
Karen's gonna be reading and competing with the kids.
This was one of the most fundamental, like, one of the greatest memories of my childhood is when my family won this in Highland, Indiana, and we won the hot air balloon ride. Even though, as I share with you, I didn't go on it. I was very little. I think if we put our brains together and put together a contest within our community for the kids that wanted to participate, with a metric to measure, I think it'd be a wonderful way over the summer to encourage our kids to read and to be part of that contest. And I'm sure, I was just looking Google on prices, it's not that expensive. It's probably like $500 or $600 to get a hot air balloon ride set up. So it doesn't have to be a hot air balloon ride, but I think it's that imperative that we start getting our kids to read that I would totally advocate the use of some of our funds, which we received from the clinic when they closed, or I'll donate my own funds and do something like that. Or maybe we can find some other people in the community to chip in and make it even better.
I like the hot balloon idea just because people didn't want to see it.
Yeah.
Like that is fun as well.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Okay, so future agenda, you said next month.
To talk about
Well,
the board meeting, like,
yeah.
or to set up a time to, like, I would just like to formulate how we would do it.
So can I
So,
can I
sure.
not challenge you, but can I task you
Yeah.
to talking with Krista about what that outline so that
Absolutely,
she can
yeah.
bring that to us tomorrow night at our agenda meeting
I know
and
it
kind
would
of
have
have
to be a
that
partnership with
outlined?
the library because the school's closed in the summer, but I think we could work all that out in a few months and have it by, like,
That's what you're talking about, right?
yeah.
Okay, so I will give Ashley a call.
Yeah, because I think by like May, before, or
Mm-hmm.
April, we could have it all finalized and promote it while the kids are still in school, and then encourage them to compete.
And I'm not throwing any
we
names
could
out
just
there
have,
as
like-
volunteers, but Miss Olson used to do, Miss Holly Olson, guess we have to clarify that sometimes, used to do this with the students also, so she may have some, I don't know, she
Yeah,
would
that'd
want
be
to
one.
run it, but she may have some
Yeah.
feedback on
I
what's
don't
been
necessarily want to
successful.
run it. I have a lot on my plate, but I would definitely support it financially, and I would also love to be a part of the thought process. And I think, we're having a baby in May, like I can't put a lot more on my plate, but I think it could be a great way to get the community around it. Even the kids that aren't attending LC could be involved because they're in the community. And, it could be one of those just events that people remember. We could do it annually if it works.
Well, and remember, we do have money in our SIA grant for summer learning, so that
Yeah.
could be something for to look at. So
And
I
also,
will,
like, it should be like the top 3 winners. I think that's what it was when I was a kid. Like the top 3 winners all got to go, right?
Well, and I think it's already something that the county library does. They already kind of design your program. If we can just offer an added incentive
Right.
for tracking what's already presented,
right.
what a great collaboration.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Any other future agenda items? All right, I saved my personal note, so it's in there. I didn't delete it. I have a tendency to click away at times. Let's go through some key dates. There's quite a few of them, guys. Again, January is Board Appreciation Month, so thank you for recognizing us. But also, I think seeing a lot of the fun stuff is just as rewarding. January 11th, so tomorrow is K-6 dental screening. No school on January 15th. That's Martin Luther King Day. We are going to be in session though that Friday for the week. January 17th, which is next Wednesday, is our budget work session. We encourage the community to come and hear what we're talking about and kind of looking at the plans. There won't be any numbers discussed, correct?
Say it again, what? I'm
The
sorry.
work session, we'll be discussing process and what the next couple years look like.
Yeah, we won't
things
have
like that.
the actual budget.
Yeah.
Don's still working on it, but what his plan is we're gonna talk about the responsibilities of the budget committee and the budget
Mhm.
committee members. He's gonna explain, what the state school fund means. He's gonna go through all the different revenues and expenditures of a budget, like what each means. In fact, I had homework today. I had to finish for him about that.
Mhm.
And then he is gonna give us a 2-year projection of our budget based on, our estimated ADMW, so you guys can kind of see where we're heading. And then that way, like we have that data out, or we have that information out there, and I spoke with Nathan, and we are gonna put then the YouTube link on Facebook so people can watch it if they want to be a part of the budget committee or understand the process. They actually have the ability to do so. And then we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thank you for that overview. Then the 26th is a grading day. The 29th ends the second semester, or sorry, begins the second semester. Whew. And then February 7th, we have an LC school board meeting. With that, we are adjourned at 8:35.
Ready?
Hi, Deb.
She already left. Yes, you will take her a piece of cake.
I think, I'm telling you, the summer reading.
Oh, no,
contest-
I'm not. I'm not a board member. Okay, thank you though. I'm still not a board. Can you leave, listen, no, they say geniuses are unorganized, so come on.
Like that.
Who are they?